Okay, friends. Oh, God. Almost dropped the tea. Okay. We need to talk. I recently purchased and read A Neon Darkness by Lauren Shippen, and it pains me to say this, but I've got to rant. I've got some things to say. First off, I loved The Infinite Noise, which was her first novel. And second off, I have not listened to the podcast that this novel series is based off of. So maybe having that information would have helped the experience. It would have given me some background information that maybe I needed to make the story more cohesive. But I feel like when you branch into novels, you need to err on the side of people may not have access to your podcast or may not have listened to them prior to reading the book. So it kind of becomes your responsibility to build the world and kind of set the stage for the reader. And that did not happen. I did not like this book at all. And it started off pretty strong for me. I was really excited about it. It was one of those things, after reading An Infinite Noise, I've been waiting for the next novel in the series or the companion novel. The two stories are different. I think it's companion novel. It's not a sequel to Infinite Noise. But as soon as I saw it in the bookstore, I was like, I'm going to get this. Lauren Shippen is becoming an auto-buy author for me just based off of The Infinite Noise. So I got this. I was super excited to read it, and I started reading it. I was like, okay, this is really cool. Our main character, Damien, is kind of drifting and bouncing from town to town to avoid his past and to also avoid being found out of what his ability is. So basically he has the power of persuasion. He can persuade people just by kind of talking at them and making eye contact with them. And sometimes that works to his advantage. A lot of the time it works to his advantage, and he really is able to manipulate the world to give him what he wants, whether it's people doing things for him or, getting nice cars or places to live or food for free and stuff like that. So he uses it to his advantage, but also, in the story, he kind of runs into the issue of it also unintentionally happening to people, and he makes very bad things happen, and he makes people do terrible things. And he claims that it's an accident, he can't control it, and so that's kind of the thing of the book. So it started out really cool, and I was like, this is awesome. It's an interesting power, and it's kind of cool to see the downside of a power like that, which kind of sounds great. Oh, I can make anyone do anything I want, and I can kind of persuade anyone to give me anything that I want. But Lauren was kind of exploring the downside of that ability and when it goes too far. And I was like, this is going to be great. So maybe the first 50 or 60 pages, I was feeling it. I was into it. And he ends up in California. He meets some young people, some unusuals, as they call themselves, and kind of gets in tight with them or wants to get to know them. It's very much the found family kind of trope going on here. He's looking for connection and people that understand him. He just wants to feel loved and kind of belong somewhere. And the unusuals are kind of offering that to him. So he gets in tight with them, and that part's great. And then it starts to go south for me. And sorry if this, stop if you don't want to get spoiled, or turn the video off if you don't want to know more. I'm sorry if this is your favorite book, but then it's just downhill. We got a tea break. Hold on. So first of all, the relationship that his chosen name becomes Damien. So I'm going to refer to him as Damien. Damien has this weird relationship with the friends, and it starts out casual enough, but the book is so short. I feel like we don't have time to really develop the bonds necessary for them to be really good friends and to be living together and everything. So the book on multiple occasions went from 0 to 60. They were just fine, having a good time. And then all of a sudden someone says or does the wrong thing, and everyone is at a level 12 and a half, just at each other's throats, arguing. And then the next page, it's it never happened. And Well, oh, I do love you guys, even though I've known you for 2 or 3 months, and we are friends, and it was so like melodramatic and just not developed. I was so salty reading this book, and I'm still salty about it. And I'm gonna give Lauren Shippen a chance to, I'll read the next books, but I probably won't buy them new, or I'm gonna do some research before I do, just because a Neon Darkness experience was not it for me personally. And then the antagonist or the villain. Oh God, why do I do this? Ugh. The antagonist or the villain of the story is called the Tall Man. I just did it again. Or Isaiah is his name also. And we don't really know what his agenda is. We don't know why he's after these kids. One of the Unusuals' name is Blaze, and he's missing for the first part of the book, and then they find him. Damien helps the Unusuals find their missing friend Blaze, who can, as the name would suggest, burst into flames. And they find him, and they discover that he was like experimented on or abducted by, I think, the Tall Man or someone that the Tall Man works for. No one knows. So they find him, and he's like, doesn't really have any memory of what happened to him. And then the Tall Man, Isaiah, like comes to hunt down the kids and is in pursuit of them, but we don't know why. We still never got an answer why. No clue what his agenda was. And so it becomes like halfway through the book to the end, it becomes the kids trying to avoid a confrontation with the Tall Man or Isaiah. And ultimately he finds them, and there is a showdown, and it's over like that. And then it's like, oh, it never happened, problem solved. And Damien uses his power to manipulate another character named Neon to kill the Tall Man, Isaiah. So he basically forces her to commit murder, and then they kind of dispose of the body and agree to keep this dark, terrible secret that they've killed someone, even though he was a threat to them, supposedly. And Damien kind of suggests like, oh, well, since we've all committed this murder together and we all know about it, this will be what bonds us. Since you all don't like me any other time, like the Unusuals treat him really poorly because they always think that he is influencing them to be his friends and to kind of continue living with him and hang out with him. This book, it just made me so mad. I struggle between whether it's like a 1 or 2 star book. I just was not satisfied. The beginning started off really strong. I thought the writing was really cool, but then it got weaker and weaker from a plot standpoint, from a character development standpoint, and then like towards the end, the writing started to slip for me too. Like she would find Lauren Shippen would find a descriptor or like a sentence tag. So like Damien said, or Neon asked, stuff like that. Things that we're used to, things that are kind of common. And she would use some like, I don't know, deadpan. And so she would introduce that sentence tag of deadpan, and then it would be the next 5 or 6 sentence tags forever. And then we'd forget about it. And then she would pick up a new one and use that 4 or 5 times. And I was just like, girl, spread it out, or, shake it up, change it up. This is repetitive and redundant. And like, first of all, who says he deadpanned, or, like she deadpanned to me? Like, I've never used that word in my life, and maybe that's a me thing, and I'll accept that. I'll take that one. But it was repetitive, and it shut me. It pulled me out of the story, seeing how repetitive that was. So, was not a fan. Will keep pursuing the series possibly because of Infinite Noise, but it's just a companion novel about young people with powers. So, who knows? But this is my review. It's a want kind of book, but read it if you love Lauren Shippen. I will say I have found the podcast, the Bright Sessions podcast. I will be looking into that because I like the world that she's built and the characters and the kind of the unusual powers that she gives people. But this book was not it, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry.